Hi, it's the 15th of February, halfway through the month. So I have read, let's sort of have a chat about the books I've read so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 books. So pretty much on a par with what I normally read in the first half of the month. I started off with what did I start off with? Oh yeah, I started off with an Audible book, and it was Penance by Eliza. I hadn't read her other ones, Boy Parts I think it's called, I don't know, I never read that one, but this was recommended to me by a friend, and there were so many layers in it. It was, excuse me, I loved it. It was a journalist revisiting a gruesome crime when a group of teenagers had brutally murdered another teenager, all girls. And we have sort of multi-layers. We have bits of podcasts and interviews and different things. And what it is this journalist is wanting to revisit this crime, to do almost like a true crime thing, to revisit the situation and look at the people and come up with his own opinions. And it's a story of sort of girlhood, almost examining girlhood, where friendship groups ebb and flow, and they're friends one day and enemies the next. And you've got sort of true crime sites as well, and these fan fiction, people's obsession with serial killers. So you've got all these different elements with interviews with friends and family. But the journalist himself is flawed, because he's been found to have been involved with the sort of wiretapping and stuff like that. So you're not quite sure whether what he's saying is reliable. Is anything that you are hearing, reading, reliable? I thought it was absolutely fascinating. So that was that one. That was Penance by Eliza. Then I moved on to Small Hours, which is the new one by Bobby Palmer. I read Isaac and the Egg ages ago. And this is an arc that comes out on the 14th of March. And you've got a blend of family and nature and fractured relationships and a talking fox. In Isaac and the Egg, we had a talking egg, and this time we've got a talking fox. Jack left home 15 years previously because he couldn't communicate with his dad, Jerry. Jerry was totally into nature. He could communicate with nature and knew everything about nature, but he couldn't communicate with his son. So he loosened his ties when he left, and he never returned home, not even for Christmas. He always had an excuse why he couldn't come home at Christmas. And then he gets a phone call from his sister Charlotte to say that Mum's gone missing. And he goes home. And Dad, Jerry, is suffering from dementia. Charlotte is resentful because Jack's been away all these years, leaving her to shoulder everything and almost forget her own dreams. And then you've got the fox, who is sort of like the mediator. And you hear Jerry's voice as he remembers bits and as he sort of drifts from the present to the past. You hear Jack's voice. And you hear the fox's voice. And Jerry, he's got all these confused memories. But nature is there. And through his confused memories, you have his love story with Hazel, the mum that's gone missing. And I found it totally poignant. I loved it. I loved the Isaac and the Egg, I think a little bit better than that one. But yeah, it was up there. Then, what did I read? Oh, let me just get my right pages. Medea. You know I love my Greek myth retellings. And this is Medea, who, is she victim? Is she villain? We know all the stories about her. We know how she killed her own children But in this version, we see her through her childhood. We see her being fearful of her father, who was forever beating her. We see her instruction. We see her being taught by her Aunt Circe to use her magic. And we see how her father uses her as a weapon, this witch he's got in his arsenal. And we see how she sees Jason as a way of escaping. But then he manipulates too. We can understand her actions. We don't agree with them, but we can understand where she's coming from. So at the end of it, you have to decide whether she's a victim or a villain. And it's you look at a different facet of her character through this book. Loved it. And that was Medea by Rosie Hewlett. I have a feeling that that's an arc as well. I can't remember when it comes out, but I'll stick it in the description book. Then I moved on to this one, The Doll Factory. And I'd read Circus of Wonders by Elizabeth Macneal. And this one, we are again in Victorian London. At the time of the Great Exhibition, the Great Exhibition is being built, and we have the Great Exhibition, not expedition, exhibition in here. And we've got Iris Whittle. She's working in for this laudanum-stoked employer. She paints dolls, faces on ceramic dolls with her sister. Her sister does the sewing and Iris does the painting. But Iris has always wanted to be an artist and she longs to escape. And when she meets Louis Frost, a pre-Raphaelite painter, and he says, will you be my model? She sees this as a way of escaping. Yeah, I'll model for you, but you've got to teach me to paint. So she sees this as an escape. Into the story as well, we've got Silas Reed, who is a taxidermist. He's known to the pre-Raphaelite painters because he produces they buy stuffed birds and things off him to use in their paintings. But he also collects gruesome things, you know, sort of two-headed dogs and stuff like that. And he spots Iris and he wants to add her to his collection. And his obsession. He is such a villain. You if you saw him, you'd cross the road immediately or dive into a doorway, so you didn't have to meet him. He's and the tension and the climax at the end, brilliant. Then we moved on to this one that I was sent by a publisher. It's an AI translation of a Serbian book that was shortlisted for an NIN award, which must be a Serbian award. And The Club of the True Creators by Milan Tripkovic. And I did enjoy this. I went into it with an open mind, wasn't sure what to expect. We've got almost being led chapter by chapter by these directors, these people directing where we're watching. And we've got Natasha, who's who runs over a war criminal. And then she goes on the run with the police inspector because he wants to protect her. We've got Rostislav, who is a literary icon, in his own words. He is part of this club of true creators. They are creating subversive literature. And he thinks that he was Natasha's intended victim. And the war criminal was run over by mistake. She was actually after him. So his club of true creators are looking for her. The Secret Service guys who were protecting, or supposed to be protecting the war criminal, they're looking for her. And I enjoyed it. It's not like a cat and mouse thing. Then I read an arc, Tell by Jonathan Buckley, and I didn't really get on with this one. It comes out on the 28th of March. It didn't excite me. We've got an interview. It is purely an interview with a gardener talking about her employer who's gone missing. And she talks about him and the relationships and the story. And I found that the characters she would create, I found them very 2D. I didn't engage with anything. And I didn't think she was reliable either. It didn't wow me at all, this book. It comes out on the 28th of March, Jonathan Buckley's Tell. And then the final one I read was, well, I listened to, was Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howarth. That's on, it was on the Cafe Nero Award debut section shortlist. It didn't make the final cut, but it was on the shortlist. And it's set in 1990s rural Ireland. And we have Lucy telling us about herself and her growing up. And it's about her discovering her sexuality, discovering Susanna, and sort of the three-way relationship between Susanna and Martin, the lad in the village that everybody expects her to marry. And her relationship with her mother, how she has to hide her relationship with Susanna, have a relationship with Martin just to keep her mum happy. And it's all about her growing up and her finding herself. And I enjoyed that. So those were the 7 books that I read. And my book of the month, I think, is going to be Doll Factory, because I love the tension in this. I love the characters. I love the scene setting. Close behind were Small Hours and Medea, but this just tipped it because of the obsession in there and the tension at the end. I love this one. So that's my first half of February. So we'll see what I'm doing in the second half when I come back to you in a couple of weeks' time. So happy reading. Take care.